Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Mark from Solo Games. I had a couple people ask me in the comments in the last couple videos about other card games, other TCGs. So today we're going to spend a little time and just share my thoughts and ideas about other TCGs, what I like, what I don't like, why I like them, what they mean to me. So today's videos, we're actually not going to talk that much about Magic at all. I think we're going to talk about everything but Magic. So let's begin. Probably number 2 to Magic is going to be Pokemon, and maybe some people will even argue that Pokemon has a bigger market than Magic overall. I kind of agree because, again, Pokemon has a larger audience just because you have a lot more kids who are spending a little bit of money everywhere, for Pokemon, and you got some big whales out there really buying a lot of Pokemon or something. So they have the Pokemon's definitely got one thing correct, which is the promotion element of it, right? So they got Steve Aoki, they got I forget the guy's name, but the guy who bought that case of fake Pokemon cards and then got YuGiOh instead. Yeah, so tons of people out there who are famous who really like Pokemon cards. It's great. So they definitely have marketing. I think my issue with Pokemon in general is that it's not a very fun game to play. I felt like even when I was a little kid, and this is 20 years ago when I played Pokemon, right? I was in elementary school, I think, when we first started playing Pokemon. I just felt like it didn't feel like it was very fair. I mean, we were playing with Ante back then too, so whenever I won, I just take other people's cards. So I'm pretty aggressive about things like this too. So I made a pretty decent Venusaur deck, and I would pretty consistently win. And it's a lot of field bads in the lunch cafeteria area when they play with me, because I would definitely be taking a lot of people's cards at the end, right? Because I just wreck their antes. I think my general thought about Pokemon is that first sets, when it was relatively balanced between, I think it was base set, you got base set, jungle, fossil. I played a little bit of base 2. I think base 2 came after jungle, fossil. Yep, that's right. Team Rocket. That's right, Rocket set. And then we had the gym heroes, gym challengers, right? Those sets. And then beyond that, I really just stopped playing Pokemon. I think I got too old for it or something. But I think up towards Rocket, the game was very, very good because it was very balanced. I mean, in general, you had Pokemon that was doing different things. The base set Pokemon were pretty strong by themselves compared to even Team Rocket. When Team Rocket came out, I remember the thing that I noticed the most was the Team Rocket Pokemon were a little bit weaker, but they dealt more damage. So they were more of almost like exactly what you think about evil, which is like black, in Magic, which is you draw power from one side to then feed the other. So you're weaker in HP, but you dealt more damage, right? Or you're a little bit more reckless in some sense. So kind of like Rakdos for all the Magic players out there who are listening to this video, you'll get that reference. I think overall that's what I felt back then. Then in college, I think one of my friends was like, hey, it seems like you're buying a lot of Pokemon cards. So I was running a small little business buying, selling Pokemon cards in college, just for fun, I think. It was helping me to just stay busy whenever I got bored, I guess. Anyways, I felt it was really fun. My friend was like, oh, let's play a game. So I bought a couple collections. I kind of powered up my little Venusaur green deck, and so we kind of played. So my buddy, of course, decided to print out literally a net decked meta deck. So he printed them out, cut them in piece of paper, whatever, insert them into cards, taped them onto stuff, whatever. Anyways, he busts out this deck, and it's like I can't do anything. And then that's when I realized, wow, Pokemon has gotten really crazy, meaning the power creep is insane. I mean, I think I was playing a deck, and my biggest Pokemon had 180 HP or something. Again, remember, my decks were really, really old, and I had to go evolve them. It was not easy to even bring out the third tier evolution. And this guy's dropping on the table Pokemon with 300 HP, I think, to something. And they had crazy Poke powers that were oh, you can't you can't attack. And I'm just sitting here like, what kind of deck is this, you know? And so we had one game. He wrecked me very easily, and I just didn't really want to play anymore because I didn't feel like it was very fair, right? I like games where strategy wins and not necessarily the size of your wallet. And so that's why like Magic has always had more of a lure for me, is because Magic feels more fair, at least on the surface. I know their cards are very good, but at some point it is also a rock paper scissors type of game, which I appreciate because it's a lot of skills, it's a lot of like potential, like, you know, counterbalancing, understanding how your deck will fare against different decks and how you could deal with your weakness, etc. So I think that's really the great part about Magic that I didn't feel like Pokemon really had. Again, you know, I wasn't playing seriously or anything like that. So obviously, if I bought the current meta deck, I would have at least stood a chance against my buddy. But yeah. Now, I'm not saying this is not a problem with Magic. For example, if you play a deck from 1993 versus like Alpha versus a deck from today, yeah, you're probably still going to get wrecked. Maybe not, right? Alpha, there's some pretty like crazy turn one Alpha decks. So, okay, I take that back. You might be okay actually. But like that, and that it illustrates a really important point, is that the power level of Magic has definitely creeped up, but it's been very, very slow if you compare it to every other game. And if you think about the fact that Magic is one of the oldest games, the fact that it has many, many sets each year, and the power creep is not as fast, though recently it's been faster, as other games, I think really makes it, I think, a better game in that sense than Pokemon. So that's what I think about Pokemon. And the other part about Pokemon, as far as I can tell, is it's all a collector's market. So Pokemon is all about collecting Pokemon cards. You tend to see the same people who collect like baseball cards who are very interested in Pokemon cards. So, you know, I don't know how you feel, but I often feel like that market or that set of people can be a little bit toxic. So I kind of just like stay clear of that stuff. I do buy Pokemon collections here and there, but it's not anywhere near what I buy for Magic anyways. So that's what I think about Pokemon. But if you like it, you know, if you like the game, if you like the look of the cards, etc., I think it's fine. It's a great game. Probably you can even get into as long as you're playing the latest set. You know, it's fair. Yeah. So number 3, obviously, is going to be YuGiOh. YuGiOh is a game where I definitely feel like power creep is like just it's supreme, right? I mean, the joke for Yu-Gi-Oh is like every set comes out, there's going to be cards that you must have because it's going to just wreck every card from the last set. It's not really like 100% true, but there are definitely some cards like that where it's I mean, like in Yu-Gi-Oh, turn 1 wins are very common, right? And there's a lot of decks that combo off in like turn 2, turn 3. You don't really go too far into the game before that happens. So that's just the general thing. The other part about Yu-Gi-Oh, and this is actually true about Pokemon too, is the formats I heard are not very, there's not that many formats out there, right? So you can play constructed, but that's about it. I mean, Magic has one of the best just diversity of formats out there because you can play Commander, like Pauper, Modern, Pioneer, Vintage, Legacy, Standard, Draft, Sealed. So many ways to play Magic and enjoy it. So I really like that aspect of Magic versus Yu-Gi-Oh. As far as Yu-Gi-Oh's collectability goes, I'm sure there are cards out there that are worth a lot of money, just like any card game. But one of the problems with like a power creep game is if you literally have a card that is the same as the previous card but just better, no one's going to buy the previous card anymore. So it really tanks the market. So it kind of sucks if you're trying to like, you know, hold cards and say, hey, maybe this is worth something someday. So I don't really like that part about Yu-Gi-Oh, but the rest of it, I think it's fine. If you like it, great. So I think now we're at number 4 probably. What's going to be number 4 probably in the current market? FaB maybe? Flesh and Blood. Flesh and Blood is super new. So Flesh and Blood really came out right before COVID happened. I was actually... so back then, I was a patron of Rudy's. and I was able to get in on the alpha set of Flesh and Blood. Unfortunately, I didn't have the foresight to keep the boxes sealed. If I had the discipline I had now, I guess I would be a lot richer probably with the Flesh and Blood sealed boosters I had and all the other stuff. I did keep some of the stuff, but I remember selling like a binder full of like Majestic Rare and whatever for like $68, dude. It was so bad from the alpha set too, right? Return to the Welcome to the Wraith, right? I think that binder now should be worth a couple $1,000. So anyways, make mistakes, you move on. Flesh and Blood has really good collectability. So one of the things I really appreciate about Flesh and Blood is the fact that there are cards that are mega rare and they look beautiful, meaning their rarity and their card stock and their like just what they put into the card feel like they match, right? So the cold foils do look really nice. They pop out. They don't curl. So and they're super rare. I mean, there are boxes where you don't get cold foils, but in general, you get one cold foil per booster box. And it has to be, again, from the old sets, it had to be from the first edition boxes. You couldn't get them in unlimited. So they really had this set air of exclusivity that I really like about Flesh and Blood. As far as like the gameplay goes, I played a couple rounds with my friends. And in general, I kind of like it because it's a little bit fast paced. I love the feeling of like, in the beginning of the game, you have your equipment, you have your armor, and you're just like, you really feel like also, you really feel like you're fully powered. Like your deck is all there. You have all the choices of cards in your deck, right? But the system of Flesh and Blood really feels like you're fighting with somebody. And towards the end, I mean, I remember it felt like I was, doing all that I can. Like I'm chucking rocks, like doing 1 damage and barely like blocking 1 damage just so I can survive. Because towards the end, your card pool is way less than what you had before from the deck. And it's going to be, because you're basically cycling cards. Again, a lot of this stuff doesn't make a lot of sense if you don't play Flesh and Blood. But if you just play the game, you'll understand exactly what I feel. Towards the end of the game, I mean, that card pool is like really crappy. It's all the cards that you were using for resources, so they don't do a lot of damage. And it definitely feels like the game slows down and you're like just edging out like 3 or 4 damage to win the game. And it's like, but you're blocking the whole time because you can't lose the game. So you're playing like 1 to 2 cards per round and you really can't combo off like you did in the earlier rounds. So that part is really fun, actually. It's a really interesting part about Flesh and Blood that I kind of enjoy. Lastly, Flesh and Blood actually has a lot of different formats you can play, which is kind of cool. There's like a sealed format. There's Blitz, which is like a short form of their standard constructed. So there's a lot of different ways to enjoy the game that I can appreciate. That's additional to the game. So I think Flesh and Blood, again, being a newcomer, really thought through what was working well with Magic, what wasn't working well. And the one thing that I can really appreciate about the game, as far as I can tell right now, is that they're adjusting quickly to the problem. So again, nobody's perfect. Everyone makes mistakes. But the thing you have to look for is not that they make mistakes, but it's how and what they do after the mistakes. What are they adjusting? What are they changing? So Flesh and Blood, for example, has cut print runs, has eliminated all of first edition boxes. I mean, these are pretty major changes to the game. Long term, who knows what's going to happen? But again, Flesh and Blood is a game where I think for them, number 1 is the players, and number 2 is the collectors. And if you watch my other video about players versus collectors, I mean, it kind of makes sense. This is the right way to think about this problem too, of how to balance between the two. You have more players than collectors, so you should cater to your larger audience. So that's what I'll say about Flesh and Blood. I think number 5 and beyond are going to be a couple games, but let's talk about Metazoo. So a lot of people were curious as to what I think about Metazoo and why I don't like the game. I think I don't like Metazoo because it looks to me like a really crappy version of Pokemon, because I do see a lot of the collectability and the collector side of things coming out. I haven't really seen the gameplay of the game, so maybe I'm passing judgment too early. So I will admit that I have not played Metazoo, so I really shouldn't comment on that too much. But the artwork, the just general feeling of it, it doesn't really interest me. And that's what I'll just say for it. I think it's fine to play, collect whatever card game you like, and I think you should do that too, because ultimately the thing that you should think about, what I always tell myself is, if Magic goes to zero, if Pokemon goes to zero, the thing that I'll have left is all these cards I feel really cool about, and I think long term I can go into my closet, open one of these packs, or whatever, and just have a great time with my friends. I think that's really valuable to have a card game that you feel that way about. So if you feel that way about Metazoo, go for it. I don't like the general nature of Metazoo, where it comes out of the gate as a very hype nature of card game. I want a card game to prove itself before it goes towards the hype and the sensational things. Kind of reminds me about I think Metazoo in a lot of ways reminds me of NFTs and like crypto, and basically a lot of the negative things about those pieces. Again, I know I'm saying this on the internet, so I'm probably pissing off a ton of people, but that's just how I feel about Metazoo in general. So maybe in a couple years I'll change my opinion, but honestly the artwork does not attract me. I'd rather play a more serious game. Maybe it's just too funky for me. I don't know. New card games and Kickstarter and things like that. So I think there's one that's like called Sorcery. If you look at the box, it looks very similar to Alpha, right? Even the way that they do the pictures and the framing. They are trying to be Magic, and they're trying to reboot the whole thing. Sometimes I think if a card game tries too much to be a different card game, that usually is a fault. It's warning signs for me that I don't really. I think it's like this, right? Do I want to put money down before I understand anything about the game? No. But if the game comes out and everyone tells me, hey, it's really fun, go check it out, I'll probably give it a shot. So I guess I'll just comment on it when I see it. I think in general, I do like the artwork better, actually, of Sorcery than Metazoo for sure. I don't know if I like it better than Magic. There are a lot of card games that have really mature looking art that's actually kind of cool. So I don't know about if I like that better than Magic. But in general, I think Sorcery maybe is fine. It really depends on how the game plays. I think for a collectible trading card game to be have a long longevity, I think the gameplay has to be fun. It has to be dynamic. It has to be thematic. And these are the things that we see this in video games as well. Usually the games that work, the TV shows that people love, are the ones that have like theme, that they have tribes, they have like kind of like a sense of a team that you can really go and root for and kind of get behind. So think about things like why Harry Potter works as a movie, or why Lord of the Rings, or even Game of Thrones is a great example. Why you have people out there who are like, I love this house, I love that house, or I like this team, I like this color, etc. I think having these strong themes in your game is very, very, very good. I think this is where a lot of people have understood this for their general games. To build kind of like a tribe, have this cohesion across your characters, whatever, towards one team. It's really powerful, actually, emotional and wise, for people to like a game. Okay, beyond Metazoo, beyond Sorcery, there are actually a lot of card games still out there. Final Fantasy, I think didn't Dragon Ball Z recently start one? Digimon's like restarting their card game. You got Weiss, you got all these other card games. To be fair, I just think those games aren't going to be very popular. And the reality is because they really haven't proven themselves. Maybe that's what's needed, is that they just need more time to go prove themselves. And like I tell everybody, if you like the game, you like the cards, whatever, go buy them, go play with them. It's fine. I don't think everyone should play only Magic or Pokemon or YuGiOh. And if you like any game, then I think you should go support it. But obviously, if you play a low population game, it's like playing a game that has or playing on a server for a video game with low population. You know how it feels. It's going to be harder to get a game. It's going to be harder to just trade, etc. It's less accessible, the cards, etc. So, I mean, my general kind of conclusion is if you do like a game, please support it, because the more you support the company, the more they can probably help to promote the game. But be ready to understand that, because you are supporting a game that's not very popular, that it may be tough to kind of get started. And so, there might not be a lot of local support for it. So that's what I generally feel about these card games. This video has gone on way longer than I thought it would, so I'll cut it off right here. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.